Hi there, I'm on to another one of my classic reviews where I pick one of my all-time favourite movies, give it a rewatch and then come review it. And in this video I'll talk about After Hours, one of my favourite films by Martin Scorsese and an underseen and underappreciated little gem of a film. It's one of those films that kind of goes under the radar because Martin Scorsese has a career filled with so many classics: Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, The Departed, but this is one of his most stylish and entertaining films. It's a comedy, a genre which he doesn't usually work in, and it's one of those little oddities that comes in the 80s, which is kind of the high point of Scorsese's career in a lot of ways. And 75 to 95 is kind of this peak of Scorsese's film career, I think, in terms of the quality of the films he was turning out. In fact, there's plenty of my favourite Scorsese films that are often overlooked come from this period: The King of Comedy, Last Temptation of Christ, The Age of Innocence, Casino. So Scorsese's After Hours is a real odd film. It's a film which takes place over just one night and is set in New York. He's set in the city and it just follows the adventures of one night. And it very much captures sort of the vibrancy of a city in a way that something like Taxi Driver also did. It's about capturing the atmosphere of a city, and specifically it's about capturing this atmosphere of a city at night. At night where everything seems stranger, where everything seems more weird, where it seems dead in places, but where there's just a few signs of life, and where the signs of life are this city is very vibrant and active. There's a lot of odd little things here that Scorsese throws into the mix. In fact, there's a whole sort of Kafkaesque sort of logic to the endless sort of bureaucracy and silly coincidences and the stupid social authorities that are enforcing ridiculous ideas in this sort of nighttime world. So the film basically just presents one guy who meets a girl, tries to meet up with her, and then a series of unlikely coincidences just keep on building throughout the film to basically just screw him over. It's like the ultimate farce. Everything that could go wrong over this night does go wrong over this night. Every single possible thing that could mess up messes up. And the entire film is just this one long string of ridiculously unlikely and contrived events that all just seem to collide together to produce the ultimate series of just bad luck. The protagonist here just has the worst luck in cinema history in a lot of ways. He really has nothing that goes well for him in this film, and he starts off the film in this sort of office. He just has this very boring office life where everything is kind of just monotonous. Everywhere you look in that sort of life there's nothing. So he has this night of adventure to try and get out of it, and he eventually just ends up back where he started. It's a journey that goes from the office life, takes him through this ridiculous series of bad luck that screws him over, the rest is just taking you back to where he started. It's a film which is very specific in those kind of ways that it is just everything just builds up. There's a very small world, there's not many characters, but each and every character is intersected with other characters. We see an odd mix of people in the film. We see those enforced to bureaucracy, we see a few sculptors, which is quite random. There's actually some sexual undertones, there's some gay characters, some kinky characters, there's a bunch of other bizarre oddities, there's lonely women trying to get with our lead character, and all sorts of just shit happens that just forces the film to just be this very funny but also quite dark sense of conspiracy. It's a film where everything seems to just gang up just to uniquely destroy whatever intentions the protagonist has. The whole thing is definitely a funny film. It's definitely a film which is hilarious, but the humour here is quite dark. There's some seriously messed up and sad and dark moments, but they're played in this way of it's so unlikely and it's so strange that it does become quite funny the way that these dark things enter the plot. In fact, the series of coincidences that build up in the film are just funny because the chance of them happening is so unlikely, but the confluence of them all is just so uniquely hilarious as an idea. The whole thing is built on this very sort of sketchy premise of just, you know, a man having a night out and everything's sort of going wrong for him. But it's very, very simple. It's also a very stylish film. It's one of Martin Scorsese's most stylish movies. The camera work is flowing and gliding. There's plenty of shots that start off quite far away and just zoom in, and there's a lot of just movement. It's very fast, it's very lively. The music here is very good. I really like the score, even though the score was a little repetitive, but it's a really nice score that kind of underlines the repetitive nature of the film. Each event that seems to be going well, and then something bad will happen. It's a film where nothing really finishes. Each and every scene seems interrupted, seems unfinished, and there's so many mysteries that you ultimately leave the film with because the characters kind of reveal a lot of details about themselves and they never really explain it, and the whole film just is undercut every few scenes by another unlikely coincidence which just drives it further. So it's a very strange film in a lot of ways. It's very unique among Scorsese filmography, but it's a very fun film. It's one of his funniest films. It's a very stylish film. It has some fantastic aspects. It's really well made. It's one of the films that I just come back to and I just always get into. It's such a weird oddity as a film. There's nothing quite like After Hours. It is a unique film in a lot of ways, especially because of its director, especially because Scorsese doesn't usually make such overt comedies. There's a tonal aspect here which connects to the king of comedy, I think. I think it has that very same sense of a weird sense of humour, but I think this is kind of a much more overtly comedic film with less of a dramatic element to it. It's the exact sort of strange and quirky masterpiece that you either get into or you don't get into. And although I imagine there's quite a few views on this, some people like me will see it as one of Scorsese's most undervalued films, and many people will see it as just being one of his weakest films. I think it's a real oddity that people don't talk about enough. So in my opinion it's a classic, but I'd love to hear what you think. I'd imagine there's more varied opinions out there, and so leave me a comment if you want. If you like this review, please give it a like. If you want to hear more of my reviews, and you can subscribe. If you want to read more of my reviews, you can follow me on Letterboxd or Twitter, links in the description. And thank you for watching.